Hello everyone and welcome your faces to a brand new Little Nightmares free video. So this video is going to be a little bit different. It's not a news video by any means. We are going to be talking about some of the content that has been covered by the press. Yes, that's right, the press. So if you remember rightly, on the 9th of September, if you're watching this video a little bit in the future, Little Nightmares put out a tweet and it caused quite an upset, to say the least. People thought things were being leaked, but that isn't entirely true, and again, I did mention this in the tweet right after their post. But I'll read the post anyway. So the post says, "Close your eyes, spoilers lurk within. Close your eyes, little ones. Starting September 10th, some whispers will certainly surface. Articles and videos from early visitors of the carnival level in Little Nightmares 3. If you wish to see it as it was meant to be, don't peek, just wait, as some mirrors reflect what should not yet be seen. Let the nowhere keep its secrets a while longer. Your time will come. It will be worth the wait." The Little Nightmares team. So, of course, when this was originally posted, a lot of people jumped to the conclusion that leaks were incoming, but I remained stern and steadfast. I did say that I believe this was because press coverage was coming soon. Now, press can mean a number of sites that have covered Little Nightmares 3, and again, even creators that you might see on YouTube that are kind of like press. Like, for instance, you'll see like a video from IGN, no doubt, and maybe another creator just covering it because they got to play the demo at Gamescom or somewhere like PAX. But I want to talk about mainly the IGN final preview video. Now, this video is really interesting because again, it shows us some more in-depth look at the gameplay, and it shows us some real key elements and things that we haven't quite seen yet. So again, with that in mind, this video is going to contain spoilers for Little Nightmares 3, so have that be your warning. And of course, before we get into this video, please make sure you hit like, comment, subscribe, do all the usual stuff to help the channel. I really appreciate it if you could, and again, it helps the channel grow, and especially with Little Nightmares coming around the corner, you do not want to miss the ideas and theories that I have for this game going forward. So, of course, I'm going to talk about the new footage that I can see from the final preview. Obviously, I won't go over some of the footage that we've already seen from the carnival demos and things like that, because, again, a lot of the footage is sort of in between, so the bits that we would not have seen from the trailer, and not a lot of stuff hides in the subtext of the environment in that. Again, there's a lot to be said for the dressing and the setting and the atmosphere and everything in that regard, but nothing other than just some, like, environmental pieces that can probably be discussed quite lightly, but nothing substantial. Anyway, so I'm going to be talking about some of the footage that I've seen for the first time, and of course you've seen for the first time. Again, big spoiler warning, because I really want to reiterate that there's a lot going into this. So the first clip I really want to talk about is the stage, where we can see one of the fairgoers in the magic box. So we all know the old trick of the trade, saw, split the box open, and you know, the person's intact and it's fine. But in this scene, we can see that the insides of the person have been cut in half. It's very much on point for the purple man in the suit. And I just find it really interesting and quite horrible in the best way. Again, one of the things that I have noticed is that Supermassive Games have brought their own touch to the game, and I must say it's really flourishing with that extra horror and the maturity of it, because scenes like this are very captivating and it's very Little Nightmares. Now, on to my favourite clip from all this new content, and I know we've seen the new enemy and things like that, but this is my favorite clip, and it's Lo and Alone approaching one of the mirrors, and this mirror looks cracked and broken, and we can see that Lo is walking up to the mirror expecting them to sort of transition or do his power and activate its portal, if you will, but the moment he touches it, he looks up and realizes it's not working. Then he checks some kind of map, I'll say, and as he double checks, he realizes that this should be the right portal, and it doesn't work. And Alone tries to comfort Lo, and of course he brushes her off. And what I find absolutely beautiful about the scene, even though there is no dialogue, there's no question to the emotion shown through the animation, and you've got to give it to him. This has been done fantastically. But this also does prompt my theory brain, because it makes me wonder, is this just about getting out of the nowhere? Or is there something more to Lo's story? Again, Alone seems to be along for the ride. She seems to support him whenever he needs it. Look, she even takes the map back, for example, because eventually she knows he's going to need it again. But Lo can't see that clearly right now because he's so upset and angry. And I freeze frame it here because I think this is such a beautiful visual indication of how desperate and horrible Lo's story is gonna go, because as Alone picks up the map, you can see in the reflection of the mirror Lo is alone, which is quite an interesting play when you think about it. But it's the emphasis on the fact he's alone, sad and upset, and just absolutely broken, like the mirror in this scene. He's lost hope. There's no reason to go on. What does he do now? And the thing is, when he brushes off Alone, it isn't because he's angry at Alone. It's more like he's ashamed, embarrassed. He's going to lose someone that he made a promise to. Something in that sort of ballpark. Again, leave your theories below because I'd love to see how you would interpret this scene. And then, of course, we come to the big part, the big spoiler part with the ringmaster, the man in the purple suit, and the puppet. And yeah, again, you have to this video is just absolute praise in that sense, but you have to give it to him. This is such a unique idea, and from what I can see, it's played off so wow. It's almost like the man in the purple suit and the puppet is like a dog and a man's best friend scenario. It's absolutely fantastic, but as you dive deeper, it's terrifying. But interestingly enough, it actually looks as if the man in the purple suit is wearing a mask. Now, I say this because if we go back to Little Nightmares 2, where we see the doctor working on masks on the wall, the face of the man in the purple suit is there. And it's super interesting to think that we're looking at another character in the world of Little Nightmares or the Nowhere that has a mask on. And again, I want to talk massively about this, but of course we have to keep this video short because there's a lot to talk about. And again, one of the darkest sort of scenes I think in this is where we could see the kin and the mini kin. That's right, we have a kind of name. Thanks to Greek culture, I'll post a link in the description for it. And of course, they've mentioned on the website that there is an actual name for these creatures, and they've called them the kin and mini kin. Now, again, I think we're gonna do a different video on this entirely, and I don't know right now the correlation. But when I say the kin and mini kin, I instantly think of mannequin. So maybe there's a correlation, but we'll talk about it later. I find it really interesting that we see the kin cut up one of the fairgoers to feed the mini kin. Now, it's interesting because there's a kind of companionship here. But anyway, we'll talk about that more in a different theory video. But then we come to one of the sort of final scenes that we see. And this scene in particular is super, super interesting because, again, we see the gnome in the jar and one of the players in the box. Now, I don't know how this is going to be decided in-game, or if this is specifically always going to be Lo, who's trapped and Alone is always out. But we see the kin is actually writing a letter. Now, we know that letters are actually all over the Nowhere. Letters all over the Pale City, letters for the janitor. But one super important thing, the letter that's in Little Nightmares 1. Now, you used to have to go out your way to find this little Easter egg with the sausage and whatnot, and the painting of what we used to think was the granny, especially in one of my theories. I used to think it was the granny. Again, we have no confirmation who that is, but I think it's super, super important they're really emphasizing this moment again, because writing a letter in the Nowhere, I know it doesn't seem a big deal, but the fact there's correlation and communication between people and the residents in the Nowhere is interesting. And it opens so much up for theory crafting. And speaking of theory crafting, if you enjoy that type of stuff, make sure you hit subscribe. But with that being said, I'm going to go away and do some theory crafting because there is some information that I think we can really work with here. And I'm super intrigued and I want to piece together a bit more of the story. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what you think was your favorite bit. I will try and do my best to do some more coverage of this, but I believe the IGN footage was probably the best to cover out of the lot. So with that being said, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and theories. Are you excited for Little Nightmares 3? I know I am, and I'm so happy that there's only 1 month left now till we get to play it. But again, thank you so much for watching this video. Have a lovely morning, day or night, wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next Little Nightmares theory video.